Thank you for sitting through my rant and my diatribe of whatever that was.
It was all necessary.
I appreciate that. You know, I'm calling the village together tonight because I fundamentally believe that without wisdom and experience, we are doomed to do certain things over and over again. And there is nobody in this industry who has more wisdom and prominence and is more adored than you are. If I tried this all day, I just said your name to people, and they smiled.
I must owe them some money.
No.
Louis Gossett I still get my $20.
No, it means that you have a legacy worth the trouble of living.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they should be clapping, but yes, it is amazing because, you know, I honor that. So here's how I want to begin. Because how long have you been in the industry?
Started in 1953.
Whoa. Wow.
Do the math.
That is way before I was born.
I'm feeling way before I was born too, but I trick it good, don't I?
You know, Mom's Mabel used to say she used to say about her ex-husband, he was older than his birthday. So talk to me about longevity, because how have you been able to forge a career of excellence and prominence for so long?
Well, the only thing I can figure out in retrospect, because it has to be in retrospect, is that I don't come from a black neighborhood. I'm a post-Depression child. And in Coney Island, Brooklyn, where we both come from, everybody lived there. There was no money. So we had to resort to our roots in order to survive. My father was a first mate on the fishing thing. So when he'd come home with a lot of fish, he'd give them fish around. And he'd come back to us and pickled and fried and brined, and because he saved the day and they ate. Somebody would come and get some potatoes, and the potatoes would go around, and the greens and the tomatoes. So we were poor. Third base was the Chevrolet on the left. And we had a broomstick handle.
They don't understand that.
Yeah, well, so we had a
Brooklyn.
broomstick handle without the broom. That was our bat, and we had to make our scooters, and the girls had rope and chalk, and a thorough imagination about what they should do. And so we did. So there was no really racism. We know there were differences, but we relied on one another intensely for our happiness and our survival.
Now, does that have a part to play in how your career has been so long?
I have a feeling because those teachers that started our society, they came out of the first blacklist. They were supposed to be communists. They were union. They started with unions.
Yeah.
So they had to run from all these universities. It was the intellectual cream of the crop.
Yeah.
They came to Brooklyn and places, and they started working and living in the neighborhoods. So my kindergarten teacher was a Latin professor at a university. And the man
Your kindergarten teacher?
Yes. He was hiding, changed his name.
Yeah.
So their children I grew up with. Who were their children? Carole King, Neil Simon, Arthur Miller.
Are you serious?
Those are the people we grew up with. And that created the Eastern Renaissance.
Wow.
You know, so
wow.
It's like lightning in a bottle. The racism was kind of like this, you know, and the biggest political thing was black and Jewish. And then so we had Jackie Robinson. Nobody else would have thought about that. Or Ralph Bunche. Or Walter White for the NAACP.
Right.
All that stuff. So when I was 17, my English teacher, former Broadway producer, Gustav Bloom, he changed his name from Gustav Bloomberg to Gustav Bloom, running.
Yeah.
And he said, he's looking at the trades, he says, tell your mother that they gave a part for a lead on a Broadway show. Tell your mother to take you down this Sunday. What can you lose? That's how I got in the show business.
That right there.
Just like that.
Wow.
Now, a couple of weeks before that, and this is simple for you young folks. We got to get back to this. We are all Americans. We're not black Americans. I call myself an American African right now because I have to distinguish myself. But we're Americans. So that I was playing Superman one day, and I realized I was getting this consciousness about color. And I looked in the mirror, and I did not look like Superman. Couldn't figure out where I could not look like Superman. So I went out, and I didn't play too well. So my best friend, the late Stanley Ralph Ross, he said, "What's the matter with you, Louis?" I said, I don't look like Superman. I can't. He said, what are you talking about? You're Superman today. So he broke the mold, not me. He broke the mold. And from that time, he told me I was Superman. I ran, and I became the president of the junior high school, the president of the high school, and had the guts to go see about that Broadway play.
Wow.
Because Stanley Ross said, I was Superman.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So now, when I say a young man with a gun, I say, you need to put that gun away because you come from much stronger stuff. You are needed desperately for the salvation of us all.
Of us all. No, I agree with that 100%.
Not black freedom, freedom.
Freedom. Freedom.
Yeah.
End of sentence.
You got a lot of work to do.
And you got that right.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I love how you say that because that's what I'm committed to. You know, I'm committed to freedom of everybody.
That's what it says, and I don't know why they mysteriously did that in the Declaration of Independence. But it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by our Creator.
And women.
And that's a no-brainer. We come from them. So we can't put them out of the way.
I'm about to hug you.
Oh, yeah, we come from them. So that's a no-brainer. That's mama. Don't be messing with mama.
I know that's right. So let me ask you this, because I think having asked the question in the positive, I kind of need to ask it sort of in the negative, in this sense. Why do you think so many people don't have long careers in the entertainment industry?
Because of the low esteem. I believe they aspire to be the first one to make $1 million, first one to get a good review, to live in a new house, and it's a longer thing. It's a longer mentality to service the public as best as you possibly can with the help of God or whoever you believe in on a daily basis. And it's for the benefit of us all.
Yeah.
So the aspiration's got to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I learned that. I didn't learn that right away, but I had to learn it eventually.
Yeah. So it's people have limited aspirations. Therefore,
they get limited results. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I'm from Brooklyn, so
Yeah, you too?
I'm all over the place. You're 83 years old.
Yes, sir. I'll be 84 in May.
In May. When in May?
May 27th.
You're a Gemini?
Gemini.
I'm a Gemini.
There you go.
Gemini!
Congratulations to both of y'all.
So you're 83 years old,
yes,
and
sir.
I got to ask you, what do you know now that you wish you had known then?
That God is in charge all of the time.
I know that's right.
I had a great-grandmama. Your great-grandmama, she lived to be 117. And she raised me and my cousins.
Wow.
And so she would, I thought I was the one, I was 17 on Broadway with all that money. So she came up to me one day, she said, you know what railroad mill snuff is? She said, come here, boy. She said, let me tell you something. God was here before you got here. He's going to be here while you're here. See, and he's going to be here when you're gone. You may well calm on down.
Right.
And let him run things.
That's right. Right? And let him run things.
And let him run things.
Let him run things.
So when I let him, everything was all right. And when I didn't, everything was not. So even eventually you get it, but then you stick around a little bit.
I love clarity.
Yeah. Well, it takes a minute to get there, but you got to get there.
Which makes me want to ask you this, because I'm younger than you. I'm not as young as some of the young men in our audience tonight.
Yep.
So what advice would you give a younger man about relationships?
There is no such thing as impossible. So if you think it's impossible, then don't get into the relationship. But if you think there's a possibility of that relationship lasting for the rest of your life, you'll find those ways to keep it lasting for the rest of your life.
Okay, I got some more.
Go ahead.
Just because I need this.
Me too.
What advice do you have? Because when I said relationships, I was sort of a general.
All kind of relationships.
For women, young men dealing with women.
Well, the ladies, and this is, I'm at this present time with some old female friends, and for some reason I'm getting pretty close to my higher power, whom I call God, and I've settled for things, and the women of this country and this world have a great right to be very upset. They've been really tortured and they've been mishandled all the way, and even today. But God puts a gauntlet in there. And that gauntlet is, if you want to be our leader, all that has to go away. So that you can lead us properly and equally, regardless of our sex or our race.
That's good. That's how it ought to be. Okay, I got one more.
It's a step. It's tough. It's not easy, but it's necessary. All for all of us.
What advice would you give me and everyone like me and younger than me for dealing with change?
Ooh, it's inevitable. It's inevitable, especially those of us who have been underneath and without. We're going to have to change to get better anyway. As well get used to it. God has given me the opportunity to be around this world and the places 7, 8, or 9, 10 times. Some things that are constant, and so I'm out of the driver's seat. I don't run nothing. I just have to make myself on a daily basis be aware of a divine message that comes from someone I regard as divine. And that answer always comes better than the one I could come up with.
I know that's right. His answer is always better.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Right. Before I want to switch gears and get more into your career and some of your projects. But I want to ask you, because you're junior, I want to ask you about your father.
That was my hero. Obviously, he didn't get past 6th grade, but he was a very brilliant man. He was adopted by the mafia because my grandfather and grandmother had a divorce, and all the kids were getting ready to go to reform school. So he had, if you've been to New York, that great newsstand in Coney Island, the black kid was my father. It was one of the largest newsstands in the East Coast.
Right.
So they adopted him. He learned how to do how to fish and how to play those cards, and he did the numbers until he became, and then he was responsible for his sisters and his brothers. So I was raised kind of like an Italian household. I was never lived in a black neighborhood. I lived in a mixed neighborhood. It was in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then there was the war, and there was a whole hero thing. And we grew up rubbing elbows with one another in Coney Island.
Were you and your father close?
Very close, except I was scared of him.
How so?
Because he hit hard. And he did it with numbers. And it would how many times.
Yeah, every syllable. Let me tell you, for the white folks who are watching, that is so black.
How?
That's really black.
Yeah.
I told you not to.
And then when my great grandmother came, I had to go and get the switch.
Yeah, man.
So, but we learned our lessons quicker that way, don't we? Yeah.
So I got to change gears.
Yes, sir.
Because if I don't ask you about Watchmen,
oh boy, okay,
I'm going to get run off to social media. You know.
Yeah.
And let me just admit, I'm not a big TV watcher, so I didn't know much about it. But in preparing for this show, I went back and watched some of the episodes, particularly the first episode, and you have a cult following.
Oh, I didn't know that. Where are y'all?
People love that show.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a little bit about this outside.
Yes, sir.
Tell me how you got to be a part of this project.
Well, they wanted me in it, almost like the first play. They wanted me in it. They didn't know what I was going to play. So I've worked for HBO before. I did the thing of playing Michael's father in Boardwalk Empire.
Right.
And so that's may I tell that story too?
Yeah.
Okay, and before I did that
I'll remind you to come back.
So we come back to Boardwalk Empire, and he's hiding. He brings this girl with him, and I tell the girl to go cook in the kitchen. So we're telling me about his problems, and we go in the kitchen to eat this food, and I'm real hungry. So I'm saying the words, and he's telling me the words, and I take a bite of the chicken, and I go, damn, this chicken is dry as grandma's swatch. Oh, she must be good for something else because she sure can't cook worth a damn. That was the line.
Right.
Cut. That's not the line. That's not the way it said it. I said, what's the line? So that says, well, she can't cook a damn. I said, that's not what we say. We say, she can't cook worth a damn. 20 minutes later, we had to get from the main office to say the line the way we wrote it. So they were stepping on our culture, in a sense, to keep their aristocracy with us.
Yeah.
And they're on our side. We're on each other's side.
Yeah.
So we had to get backstage and talk about our compassion for one another, so we can continue on with this relationship. Same with relationships of any kind.
Yeah.
Fade out, fade in. They put me down there right, reluctantly. So now I'm doing this one.
Watchmen.
So I'm doing Watchmen, and let me see if I can remember the line was. I can't remember what the line is now.
I can't remember what I ate yesterday.
You can remember what you ate yesterday?
No, you can remember lines?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm here to talking about my roots.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had to say, how did it go?
It don't matter.
It don't matter, I forgot.
Yeah.
Before this is over, it'll come back to me, okay? All right, but the character, they hired me for my wisdom of knowing somebody who, of that age who would know what he's talking about. And they made a correction. They wanted me to say the same thing, just we did it in Boardwalk Empire, the way they wrote it. So I did it a different way, because I knew that what I was doing was right. And that's where my cult came from, because you identified with what I said.
That's right.